From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 468. Today's show is brought to you by our sponsors, Indeed, Electric, and Factor. I'm Federico Vitici, and I'm joined today, as always, by two hosts who are together in person. Steven and Myke are together. Are you holding hands?
We can high five.
I wanted to hold hands, but he wouldn't have it.
Okay. Hi.
So I think it's fine to buck tradition the way that you just did because we are in the person. So I figure you could introduce us both at the same time.
You are together, so that's the exception to the rule. I get to introduce you both at the same time because otherwise it would be awkward. What, I would just introduce Steven and you would just sit silently next to him? No.
Yeah, I do as I'm told. There's a lot of old computers here, as you can imagine.
Well, are they more than the last time you were there?
I think so. It looks like more.
Steven, are there more old computers?
I don't have to answer that.
Come on.
There's a lot. There's so many stacks now.
There's a few more. You haven't even seen the attic.
I don't want to.
The attic situation's bad.
Why? Do you still have them in the house? Why do you still have them in the house?
They're in the attic. They're not in the house.
No, but you have all of this.
I know.
I cannot believe.
I need more shelves.
I cannot believe that you built this and your loving wife still allows for there to be Macs in the house. I cannot believe that has happened.
Well, she just doesn't go in that part of the attic.
Yeah, but I'm just still surprised. Like, it felt like that's what this was supposed to be.
Well, I want to put some more shelves in somewhere, and then I can get everything out of
There's
there.
no space for shelves. You should have put an attic in this studio.
It's pretty tall in here.
Yeah,
like
you
a
could
loft.
do that. You could do that.
Federico, we're going to talk about your review this week. But first, let's maybe touch base, check in, circle around on what we ordered and how that process went. I saw a lot of people in Mastodon had trouble with the Apple Store app. I did too. In fact, I ordered our phones on the internet, like in a web browser, because the app would not come up for me. How did it go for you?
I was perfect. Within 4 minutes, I got it done before everything crashed. And I think I just hit the CDN lottery this time around.
You did.
I obviously had the usual setup with multiple devices opened on different networks. We talked about this strategy years ago. Still holds true, obviously. Still worked. And this time I got lucky on the iPad with the app instead of Safari. So within 4 minutes, and then it went down and it wouldn't recover for another 25 minutes. And so I felt pretty lucky there.
Yeah, I was just like wanting to peek at things because Stephen had ordered my phone and his phone together. And I opened the app at like hour in the UK and it wasn't loading.
Jeez.
It's like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I know it's an incredibly hard job, right? But it is one that they do at least once a year. So it's just still a surprise to me that it's so like rickety still.
There's a lot of web objects in there. Yeah. I don't know if that's true anymore or not.
It seems like we all chose the best phone.
Obviously.
Yeah.
The Natural Titanium Pro Max is like, it's like out to November in most places to try and get one of those. It's very, very, very back ordered, which is trendsetters.
That's right.
I actually have a question about phones. It came in from Austin, who said, you all mentioned that you're getting the 512 gigabyte 15 Pro Max. What do you need all that space for?
Well, I ended up with the terabyte.
Yeah, Federico, do you want to hear about this?
How do you end up with 1 terabyte?
So here's the thing, right? So these phones, because I'm here, it's complicated for us to get phone. Like, I don't want to order a phone in the UK because I won't be able to get it, right? So we order it in Memphis. It's difficult for me to do that order, so Stephen orders them for us. And so when we do it this way, we have Relay FM pay for the phones, right? And we all agreed we are going to get 512 gigabyte 15 Pro Max. Then Stephen pops up with his 1 terabyte, which means I paid for half of that.
So I owe you $100.
Sure. Yeah, you owe me $100. I paid for half of this betrayal where he decided to go and get a terabyte. What do you think about that, Federico? It's pretty bad, right?
I think it's very bad.
Do you want to hear my usage?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Photos, 584 gigabytes. I keep my whole photo library on the phone.
Well, you could never have had a 512 gigabyte phone then. Why was that even a consideration for you?
Well, I was thinking about, do I want to live without that? But I don't. 47 gigabytes in messages, 30 gigabytes in music, 13 gigs in day one, 5 gigabytes in notes.
Wow, 13 gigabytes in day one.
And then it goes from there.
There's a lot of
It's a lot of dreams that you have written down, man.
Yes, a lot of dreams going in there.
That's right. That's right. So we'll be picking our phones up the morning of the podcastathon. I have to get up early and go out to the Apple Store and then race downtown, like all the way across the county. It's going to be spectacular.
I have 340 gigabytes of 512 gigabytes used. So I looked at this. I think this will be the last year that I will do 512 because I reckon I'll start bumping up to it. I'm 168 gigabytes into photos. I'm the same. I have all my photos on my device because I just like that. 20 gigabytes in messages, 14 gigabytes in music, 6 gigabytes in Overcast, and then it just goes on from there. What do you have, Federico?
Let me see. I think I was last time I checked, I was at around 300. So where do you like? Did you check the iPhone storage or the iCloud storage?
iPhone.
So
storage.
iPhone storage. So iPhone storage, because I don't keep my photo library downloaded.
Oh.
I have a 1 terabyte model on the 14 Pro Max, and I'm only using 171 gigs.
Yeah, you might have overshot that one a little bit. With the
and I'm not sure why I'm not keeping my photo library offline, because I think I could. In fact, if I go to iCloud, let's see, I'm only using what for photos? Let's see. This page is so bad. So my family is using 500 gigs of the 2 terabyte plan. Yeah, I'm only using 200 gigabytes for iCloud photos myself. 42 gigabytes of iMessage. Wow. And 7 gigabytes in iCloud Drive. So as a family group, we're using about half of the 2 terabyte plan right now.
I'm a little bit concerned that my iCloud photos is at 151 gigabytes. That doesn't make any sense because that seems like less. And that's for the family. I don't know what's going on there. That's very concerning. I'll try not to think about that anymore.
So, Myke, you're in Memphis. It is September. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. You want to go to stjude.org/relay to learn more and donate. But we have been raising money for St. Jude since 2019. And since then, we have raised over $2.5 million as a community, which means we've hit our first goal for 2023, but we're not stopping there because St. Jude won't stop until their life-saving work. But we're not stopping there because St. Jude won't stop their life-saving work until no child dies from cancer. With your support, dear listener, we'll be one step closer to that day, one cure closer, one child closer. It's estimated that more than 400,000 children worldwide develop cancer each year, and nearly half of them are never diagnosed. Now, in the U.S., more than 4 out of 5 children survive cancer, including my son. He's one of the 4 out of 5. But in many developing countries around the world, that number is reversed, with fewer than 1 out of 5 children diagnosed with cancer surviving. In fact, the most significant predictor of whether a child will survive cancer or not is where that child lives. That's unacceptable, and it's why in March of 2018, St. Jude became the first and only World Health Organization collaborating center, clapping center, collab center for childhood cancer. The goal of this initiative is to raise the survival rate of 6 common childhood cancers to 60% by 2030. That's not that far away. And so they've been hard at work. In 2021, St. Jude and the World Health Organization launched the global platform for access to childhood cancer medicines. This aims to provide free chemotherapy medicines in the next few years to as many as 120,000 children around the world with cancer. Just think about that. That's a huge number of kids. That is now in the pilot phase. So that initiative is up and running. In April of this year, they met with representatives from the program's first few countries to figure out the details of how the process will work to get medicines from ports of entry to hospitals. There's a lot of logistics that go into this. It's one thing to say, hey, we're going to treat a bunch of children, but you got to figure out how to do it. And the people at St. Jude and the people at these partner organizations, they're the best at the world at it. So go to stjude.org/relay to support this important work. Myke, you want to tell people about what we're going to be doing on Friday?
Yeah, so this Friday, which is September 22nd, from 12 to 12 U.S. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. So we are doing a 12-hour live stream for the kids of St. Jude from the campus of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That's starting at 9 Pacific, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. That'll be 5 p.m. British summertime, 4 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. Is it Central European time, Federico, that you are in?
Yes, Central European. Is it?
Let's say Rome time.
Summertime though. I think it's.
We're just gonna say Rome time. 6 p.m. Rome
6 p.m.
time.
Rome time.
If you're not in Rome, you have to work it out. There's going to be a 12-hour TT time, 12-hour stream. It's going to be full of shenanigans. The whole event is focused around Myke versus Steven. We've got a bunch of games and activities that we're going to be playing throughout the day. We've got some fun in-studio guests. We have Jason Snell and Kathy Campbell coming in to help us out, be adjudicators, referees, and participants of the various things that we're doing. We started doing day one of our 3-day run through and set up yesterday. The set is looking incredible. It's going to be a fantastic time. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be on twitch.tv/relayfm on Friday, September 22nd. Please come and hang out with us.
So let's talk about iPhone cases.
Okay.
Here on the table, I have a selection of 3 cases, Myke, for you to try. Mm-hmm. I have the leather case off my iPhone 14 Pro Max. So it's got some use on it.
No. Hold on. Make it. Shuffle them up and make it a blind test. Let him touch them.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
All right.
Close your eyes.
Okay. Well, I can't see what you're doing anyway, but
Okay. So
now I'll close my eyes. So give me one.
okay. So I'm gonna give you a case.
Okay. Okay. So you've got, what is it? Peak Design.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the Peak Design one because it's got rubber on the sides and a big hole in the middle.
That's okay. So here is another case. He's feeling it. He's touching
interesting. Okay,
Interesting,
I think.
Okay.
He looks hungry.
Yeah.
Weird.
At first touch, I thought this might have been the leather, but because I ran my finger across it in one direction and it was kind of smooth, but then when going back, I think this is fire woven.
Okay. Here's the last one.
This is actual leather.
Yep.
Yeah,
you got 100%.
That leather case is messed up. So
yeah, it's got some age on it.
I will say, Federico, have you tried one of the fine woven cases yet?
No, I don't have mine yet.
I don't like this.
Okay.
So this case to me feels like a high-end paper.
Oh, paper?
Yeah. I've experienced some papers with the texture which is similar to this, and so I don't know. I don't think that this was the right move. I genuinely just think that they should have either doubled down with all silicon, or they should have created something more akin to the Peak Design, where it's like, we're just going to go all in on this being a fabric. And I think that they've landed something in the middle where they've tried to create this fabric case that has a leather-like feel, where, like, Stephen, feel this, the edges and the back feel like completely different materials.
Yeah, the edges feel like
They're
leather,
like a rubbery kind of.
Yeah, like rubbery. And then there's a seam in between the back and the side. It feels way cheaper than what I paid for it.
Yeah, I think they whiffed big time on this. I don't think that this is a good... I do not think that this is a good replacement for people who had the leather case.
I don't either.
So I figured that they should have just gone in a completely different direction rather than trying to create something like this.
Now, what is interesting about the fine woven case is they cover the action button like one of the volume buttons. So you get... It's not metal, it's plastic, but you get a hard button there. And the Peak Design just has a big hole in the side of it where the action button's going to be. So I'm a little worried about that. But I really like the Peak Design case. That'll be my daily, I think.
This is interesting. So it's not really that interesting, but it's just a thing I noticed.
We're talking about iPhone cases.
Yeah, the buttons,
like, come on.
the little plastic buttons do move on the case. Like they have like a little movement. It's not just like a pressure, because like a lot of cases, it's like you're just pressing a piece of silicone or whatever, and it's actuating the button just because there's pressure.
Including
on
the old Apple leather case. Look, those buttons don't move.
Yeah, they don't. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be intrigued to see what people at large think of this, but I don't like the look of it. And now I'm like, I definitely don't want that on a watch band. But I want to try that out too. I want to see what that feels like. But I'm not you can count Myke Hurley in the not a fan of the fine woven material.
Wow, you must hate the environment.
Well, I would say that there
I
are.
was sort of expecting you were gonna go with, you know what? Yes.
You know what? No, I'm fine with the environment. I hate cows. That's my whole thing. You know, that's my whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like a swing and a miss, and I wonder if they're going to tweak it. Like, I feel like I would be happier with it if it had some sort of, like, the texture is what bothers me.
Yeah, are you saying they need to refine?
I was gonna
woven?
say that. Oh my god. Oh my god. I was just waiting for my moment and you stole it from me.
So this is the benefit of being in person. I could see that he was about to take a little pause, and so I could just jump in.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I'm very curious what people think about this. So as you get these in your hands, send us some feedback. We'd love to hear about it.
Connectfeedback.com.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Indeed. What's a game where no one wins, Myke?
Chess.
Also, the waiting game. When it comes to hiring, don't wait for great talent to find you. Find them first with Indeed. When you're hiring, you need Indeed because it is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites, just wandering around hoping that candidates with the right skills fall in your lap, you can use Indeed's powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. Indeed streamlines hiring with powerful tools that find you matched candidates. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the very moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed Data US. Indeed's hiring platform really is great because it gets you one step closer to the hire by immediately matching you with quality candidates. Even better, Indeed is the only job site where you pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements, making it an unbelievably powerful hiring platform, delivering 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest 2019. Join more than the 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. My next door neighbor just started a new job, found it on Indeed.
There you go. Because it's the easiest and fastest way to do so.
Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/connected. This offer is good for a limited time, so claim your $75 credit now at Indeed. That's INDEED. Indeed.com/connected to support the show by saying you heard about it on this, your favorite podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Our thanks to Indeed for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So today, as we're recording, iPhone reviews started to drop. I've got a few in the show notes, mostly videos because that's who I am. And I went through and watched a few of them. What I'll say is nothing here seems surprising. I think that, like of all of this stuff, MKBHD kind of didn't really do a review. And I think that that's going to be the case for a lot of creators, maybe. It isn't a super long time. Like, they've only had like a handful of days. But there's a bunch of like early impressions and reviews. And, he'll do one later on, which I'm sure will dive more into the camera stuff. And I kind of summarized a little bit of some of the points that they were making. So in MKBHD's review, he was talking about the fact that this is PVD coated, right? The Pro phones. And I'm going to focus mostly on the Pro phones here because it is what I'm most interested in. And he was saying that, PVD coating as opposed to an anodization can chip. Like, if you were to drop one of these phones, especially the ones in the darker colors, you may chip it and see through to the underneath the coating, which could be intriguing.
What came to mind for me is that Apple has done PVD coating. Now, granted, on steel, I think also the dark titanium watch like Jason Snell has is PVD coated. And that hasn't seemed to be a big problem on the watches. So I'm not as concerned about that as he seemed to be. I don't think he was concerned. He sort of raised the question, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
And even if it is, remember that cool black iPhone that
Yes.
used to get all chips and stuff? That looked good. I
Yeah,
know people
the
might not
iPhone
like
5. They only did it 1 year, and then we got space gray. But, I mean, exactly your point, right? Aluminum does this too, And so I don't know if they're introducing like a new sort of failure point. Now we'll see. Like in a year, if all these phones look like the Millennium Falcon, then we know. What I found more interesting about the finishes, both in MKBHD's video and others, basically everyone gravitates towards the natural finish. Yeah. Everyone's a natural person.
Yeah, naturalists. We're all naturalists now. That it's this, the natural is the best. It's the most striking. It's the most interesting of the colors, and it actually, if you're intrigued about the fact that your phone has a new material, this is the one that shows that most, really. Like the black one, they just painted it black, and the blue one, they just painted it blue. At least with the natural titanium and maybe the white, they try and give it at least some kind of effect, Well, yes, I feel like I would honestly have said the same for both the gold and the white stainless steel ones, where they were shinier, they were more reflective. There's a lot of people plugging the phone into other things and seeing what happens. So these phones now do act as kind of battery banks. So if I had a phone, so Federico, me and you both have the new iPhone, and I have 90% battery and you have 60% battery. If we plug a USB-C cable between our two phones, my phone will charge your phone. I hope you're excited about that. Obviously, this will also work for accessories, right? So we knew this already. You can plug the AirPods in, but it will also work for other devices as well. So that's a thing that can happen.
Oh, that's nice.
And MKBHD, like others as well, is very happy with the flexibility of the action button. But he raises a thing that Alison Johnson also raises at The Verge, which is like, it would be kind of nice to have a double press action to do something else. Which this feels like one of those things that happens every time they add a new feature like this. Of like, well, one is good, but what if we could do more? And like, I remember people saying this about the Apple Watch Ultra as well, right? That like, well, I can do one thing, but what if I double tapped it? And Apple never did anything like that, right?
But given that it's an iPhone, they might at this point, because they have, I assume, much more feature requests and feedback than from an Apple Watch Ultra. And I totally agree. I think it would be lovely to have twice the customization features,
Because, you have to tap and hold. Maybe you could like tap once and then tap and hold, right? And that would act as a double.
Well, you press and hold.
That's what I mean. So like instead of, because you press and hold, right, to make it do a thing. Maybe if you press and then press again, right?
Maybe.
So it's like press and hold.
And you still have back tap, like that hasn't gone away.
Does anyone ever, does he use that?
No,
because it didn't work for me.
It never worked when I wanted to trigger it,
Yeah.
but then I'd walk around with my flashlight on in my pocket all the time. So I gave up
Is that
on
a flashlight in your pocket? Federico, do you ever use the back tap?
No, I tried to set it up, but I never remember to use it. It's one of those things where, if I don't see it, I don't remember it exists.
It's not widely used.
No, I'm trying to think of like a way to describe it. It is not not like graceful is not the word I'm looking for, but like it's just not a very delightful interaction. Like tapping the back of the phone to do a thing.
You've always been against tapping things. Like you always disliked tapping AirPods too.
Yeah, I hated that because I didn't want to tap the side of my head. Like I'm just not into that.
You are a tapping.
Yeah, I'm anti-tapping unless it's nose related. I'll nose tap.
Yeah.
But like if it's I will not tap anything with my fingers. I just won't do it. It's not delightful. Alison Johnson at The Verge says that it feels very good to hold the Pro phones. I can't get my head around this. Like I'm very excited for Friday because lots of people, including Steven, have said like it just feels nicer to hold. And like I'm looking at the images in the videos and I can't see what's different.
Yeah, it's very subtle. I think it was in Allison's video, there was a shot of a 14 Pro and a 15 Pro on a table, like looking flat.
Yeah, I couldn't see a difference.
It is very subtle, but where all the joins are on the 14, from like the screen to the sides, is all 90 degrees. There's just a little bit of a radius there, and it makes the phone look a little bit thinner, and it's definitely more comfortable to hold. I think the comfort, because I also in the hands-on played with the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, and those feel better too, but the Pros feel even more betterer, and I think that's the radius plus the weight reduction.
Okay. And that is another thing, right? The weight reduction. I'm intrigued. Like, I just don't really know what to expect there. Johnson says that the 5x lens looks good and allows for you to be able to take photos of things that you wouldn't otherwise. That's kind of what I was hoping to hear. Like, it was the only sense of this that really landed with me, was this idea that there are, where I feel like I don't need a 5x lens specifically, is because there are photos I'm just deciding not to take because I can't get what I want, and that maybe this will provide that. Matt Panzerino, who I feel like I missed this, is leaving TechCrunch.
Yeah.
Did you know this?
He announced it, I think, last week, and today's episode of Decoder.
That's where it alerted me. I must have missed this somehow.
Yeah, TechCrunch absorbed some other organization, and their leader's taking over for Matt. But he had a 10-year run there, and he's done such a great job. We're big fans.
I really hope that he goes indie and writes some stuff, and then I also really hope that he starts a cooking YouTube channel.
And Matt, if you want to do a tech podcast, get in touch.
No more shows.
I would break the rule for Matthew Panzerino.
We'll see. Panzerino says that the Pro Max is the phone to get. Just that's the one. And he actually said, for him, it's more than any time in history, of them having the bigger phones, that this one makes the most sense. He says the 5x zoom lens is a triumph. He was big on this lens. And one of the things so he did a video review, which I watched and really enjoyed. One of the things that he's really talking about a lot is that the 5x lens and the new portrait features, right, where you can apply the portrait effect after the fact, emblematic of something that he feels Apple's doing with the new camera stuff, which is you just take a picture and deal with it later, which is a way easier thing, having to necessarily choose the mode, that the iPhone is more and more helping you to take the best photo and then letting you do something later on to make it even better. I thought that was a really interesting insight.
And you even have that with the 24 megapixel output, where you're getting sort of the best of the 12 and the 48 megapixel data capture, and it's merging them. And you can turn that on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. I have not tried it.
The 24 megapixel?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
No, because I know what you can turn on is the HEIF.
Maybe that's what it is.
That's what it is. The 24 megapixel,
so
I don't think you can.
Fake news.
So
we're checking.
Because I've turned it on. The HEIF RAW file.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's
yes,
what you
my
can turn
apologies.
on. Yeah, and I have turned that on. So now I have, it's called HEIF Max. And I've turned that on, but you can't turn on 24.
Call me Heath. Mr. Max is my father.
So, yeah, watching these reviews, I continue to be excited. I'm very intrigued about the new camera stuff and the way this phone is going to feel. And I guess I look forward in the future to full-on console gaming.
It's made me think a lot about the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, because that was the first time we got the dual camera system and what that let us do in the very early days of portrait photos. And those early ones are pretty bad in hindsight, but it unlocked a new type of photography on an iPhone. And it feels like this year is another one of those type of years, not only because the big phone has cool tricks the other one doesn't, but we are moving into this era. We've on the road to computational photography. This feels like a big step. And I'm really excited to get my hands on it on Friday. I think more excited than I've been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, me too.
My excitement is mostly around getting my Apple Watch on Saturday. I'm more excited for the Apple Watch Ultra than I am the iPhone.
What metal is that Apple Watch Ultra made out of?
I'm very much over my Series 7. I really just want it gone. I'm done with it. And
I've seen you wear it this week.
Yeah.
And so Mary has a Series 8, but it's the small one. So I'm used to that, but I haven't seen a regular, the bigger size of the regular watch in a while. I was like, oh man, that looks small.
He's what shaming me, Federico. Can you believe this?
Have you tried on the Ultra?
Yeah.
You tried on Sparks.
Yes, it's the only one. I was able to get away with it. I never tried one on, and then when I saw David in November, he just put it in my hand and said, put it on.
He's a real enabler.
I put it on, and I wore it for half an hour and decided then I was going to buy it.
Yeah.
But waited, and oh boy, can I, it's going to be so good when I can Do stuff.
You'll be the only one of the three of us who can try the second generation ultra wideband thing.
And I can also do the double tap.
The pinchy.
Yeah,
pinchy
but
tap.
that's in October. I feel like I missed that. I
Yeah,
heard
it's
that on a
coming
podcast
later.
a couple of days ago. There is so much stuff that's not shipping.
There's an article on Mac Stories outlining all that.
I know. I spoke about it on Upgrade.
Imagine that.
I referenced this article and put it in the show notes of Upgrade and used it to talk about
Thank
things
you.
that are coming later. Anytime. Thank you, actually, because you did the work so I didn't have to.
Well, I think John did the work.
Thanks-
I did the work. Actually, I ran through the whole list of features and organized them by platform and sent the list to John, and John put it together as a story. So it was a joint
So what
effort.
you're saying is John is stealing
No,
the
I'm
byline.
not. I'm saying that
He didn't-
Steven was like, oh
I
no,
don't-
John did all the work. But actually, I also did the work.
I'm going to log in and change that one to be published by Mac Story staff.
God.
But what I just think it's really strange, though, that John didn't credit you, Federico.
Yeah. What's the little hat tip thing we were supposed to do on Twitter back in the day?
Hat tip.
Hat tip.
H/T.
I realized yesterday that I ended up somehow on Tech Meme for the review, and I thought, wow, that's a thing I haven't thought about in a while. You know, tip at Tech Meme, tip Tech Meme.
Tip tech meme. I'm just really surprised that you just not mentioned it all in this article, Federico. I just don't know. Did you upset OTJ? Is he mad at you?
No. I mean, I only put together the list. He brought it up as a story. So
Okay.
I'm just saying that Steven presents me as a slacker, and I'm not.
He does.
I mean, he took that, but I will just say the masthead of Mac Stories is by Federico Viticci and friends.
That's a very old logo that needs to be changed.
John's just a friend.
Yeah, you gotta.
You know? They're just friends. They're just friends. Federico put John in the friend zone.
Wow.
That's what happened. John is into. I thought that maybe Federico John was mad at you because like you took him hostage for the review. Like there are many screenshots of like FaceTime and stuff where I'm like looking at it and I'm like, Federico just said, John, I need to FaceTime you, and then they just had a FaceTime call and you made him stick a thumbs up at you and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we did that last month, so it wasn't like this sort of thing that he had to do for a whole week just before the review. So we did it in stages, and that FaceTime call was only 10 minutes, like 3 weeks ago. It wasn't too bad. But John read the whole thing in like 2 days or something with edits. So it did a lot of work for the review.
He's a trooper. He's one true trooper. Is that guy? Let me tell you, he's putting in the work over there. Is that John Voorhees? Is John working on a macOS review? He is, right?
Yeah.
I bet he wasn't happy like Jason. It's one of my favorite moments. I don't know if either of you heard
I
it.
saw the video.
Yeah, where the video is actually really good. I'll find the video and put it in the show notes. Where I got to break to Jason when macOS was coming out. He didn't know, and you can see the moment where his soul leaves his body. The video is much better than the actual podcast moment of it. It's very, very funny.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Electric. When you're leading your small business, it's not all glamorous. In fact, sometimes it's a matter of spending hours onboarding an employee, which you're well equipped to deal with, of course, but maybe you just don't have the time anymore. The team over at Electric knows that small businesses, maybe like yours, face these challenges. That's why they are on hand to help with the time-consuming parts of your business, like standardizing device security with best-in-class device management software, so you can implement best practices across the board and be ready to scale. And employee onboarding and offboarding done for you, saving you an average of 8 hours per request. Plus, Electric will help you keep a single point of visibility into your whole IT environment to control your devices, networks, and applications, while also simplifying the reporting, allowing you to achieve and maintain compliance. And Electric provides proactive IT recommendations and automated workflows to make IT easier to manage than ever, even for non-technical users. If you're hearing this and you think, hey, my company could use some of these services, but you're not sure where to start, Electric's experts will guide you through the process of establishing standardized IT processes for your organization. Delegating is super important in a small business. It's a lesson that all of us have learned over the years. And there are things that maybe we did at the beginning that we just don't need to do anymore because things have gotten too busy. And Electric is a great team to partner up with and take some of that load. For connected listeners, Electric is offering a free pair of Beats Solo 3 headphones for taking a qualified meeting. Just go to electric.ai/connected. That link is in the show notes. It's electric.ai/connected. Go there now to get your free pair of Beats Solo 3 headphones for scheduling a meeting. Our thanks to Electric for their support of the show and Relay FM.
I would like to welcome to the show the man of the hour, Federico Viticci.
It is me.
Welcome, Federico. Little round of applause for Federico.
Oh,
You did it.
thank you.
iOS and iPadOS 17 review has been published. How are you feeling? It's like 24 hours out. How are you feeling?
Very good. Very good. Very tired, but very good.
Yeah.
And I am mostly just very happy that my plan worked. That I was able to put this one together in different stages, right? A lot of work done up front in June and July, take a few vacations in August, and then finish it all up in less than 3 weeks at the end of August, just before, review season in September. So yeah, I feel very happy, very glad that it's done and that I don't have to worry about a massive article for the next 9 months.
This was the first review post Twitter.
Yeah, yes.
For us.
Yes.
Did that change your experience?
I gotta be
at
honest.
all?
Yeah. Yesterday, for the sake of honesty, this is a safe space. Yesterday, I missed Twitter. I really did.
I can imagine there was a sense maybe of it feeling a little underwhelming, the response.
It really did, and for a couple of reasons. Obviously, because there's fewer people who follow me on Mastodon than there used to be on Twitter, and Twitter was just faster and busier at these times of year. And it also doesn't help that I broke Mastodon for a few minutes. Our Mastodon process restarted a couple of times. And by the nature of Mastodon itself is that your federated posts, they don't immediately go out to other servers. They may take a few minutes. And so as a result of those bugs and the nature of Mastodon, some people missed my announcement. And some other people had to wait several minutes to see the announcements, whereas Twitter was always real time.
I wanted to boost it, and I was like sitting there for like 10 minutes waiting for the post to appear.
Yeah. So yesterday I really missed Twitter, but then again, it is what it is. I don't want to use Twitter anymore. Besides that, I mean, obviously the response for being sort of only announced on Mastodon, also because I cannot use threads. I did post it on Instagram and that was fun. It's actually doing better than I expected on Instagram compared to what I thought it was going to do. But it still feels like, despite the lack of Twitter, which was always great for these events, but I still feel very good, and I'm still very happy that it's out there and that people have liked the graphics and the animation and the sort of the structure that I chose for the chapters. It was a different review than usual, not just because there wasn't Twitter for me to announce it, but also because I took a different approach with the actual putting together the story. I took a different approach with the table of contents. I returned to offering a single review for 2 operating systems. So it's iOS and iPadOS back together once again. All these new things, I didn't do, for the first time in forever, I didn't do a shortcuts chapter. There's no standalone shortcuts chapter. It's just a section in the apps chapter. So
you would have struggled to do it, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly kind to that. But yeah, so the combination of all these things made working on the review really fun, exhausting, obviously, but still very rewarding. And it feels so nice to have, my 9th review done. And next year, it's going to be my 10th annual review, which is...
Yeah, baby.
I don't want to think about it.
Try not to. It's too soon. I have 1 chapter left to go. It's very, very good. The vibes are good. I was reading most of it on my iPhone in the Miami airport, which I don't even know if you know about this story yet, Federico. I'll tell you about it later on, but I spent the night in the Miami airport. And I really enjoyed
Thank
it. The last couple of years, I mean, I said it before, it just suits me. Like the length and the tone and the style, like really suit me as a reader. So, I mean, I would just say I really enjoy it more than I ever have. I just think you're doing a very, very
Thank
good
you.
job. I think it is testament to you that you could be 9 years in and be doing a vastly better job all the time is like kind of wild. Like I don't actually know how you manage it. So bravo to you.
Thank you, and that's very nice to hear. It's always a struggle, to for me to be for me to strike the kind of tone that makes the review enjoyable for me to put together, but also for people to read. Because ultimately, what good is a review if nobody reads it? And so striking that balance of, is it actually enjoyable? Like, can you take this thing and sit down with an iPad or a Kindle and have a cup of coffee or drink whatever and just enjoy reading it? But is it also useful? Like, is it also, because I do these things for me, right? I write these things for me, and I try to find a way to find some financial sense for people as well. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't do it for the glory alone, because I have, I have a mortgage to pay. But like one of my priorities, besides being an enjoyable piece of writing, it's got to be well documented. It's got to be like, does it have historical value? And I don't mean to sound so like exaggerated with that, but in this very specific corner of the world, a guy who reviews an operating system, I want to believe that there is some historical value to the screenshots and these details. If only, years from now, somebody like Steven will be an iOS historian, like that sounds weird as a thing to say, but hey, somebody 20, 30 years from now will start collecting iPhones and be like, oh, look at these old computers. And maybe they'll look back at, these reviews. And so that's also the thing I got to prioritize. And obviously the final part of, so there's the enjoyment of the story. There's the technical part of the story, and there's the experience of the story, like everything around it. So the ebook and the things that I get to do every year as fun little extras. And every year I try and do something different. And I have already some ideas for my 10th review next year. But this year I did the ebook, and I did a making of, instead of doing it as I always do on Mac Stories Weekly, where I'm going to do something else. I did it on App Stories, and then I commissioned 2 Obsidian plugins that I ended up using myself, and I realized, well, maybe these are also useful for people. And everything came together. It took me about 80 hours total for this project. It's 33,000 words, less than 35K, which I told you I was going to hit, and you guys were very skeptical.
Yeah.
But it's 33K total.
Hey, look, you did a good job last year, but we know you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, it would have been, I think the odds would have been on over 35. So, but I'm very happy that you got it under 35.
Under 35, 80 hours, and that's how I did it.
One thing new this year is the chapter on intelligence. And I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Apple obviously has a big push there. What made it, what elevated it for you to the point of, hey, this needs to be its own section?
I always try and come up with a list of chapters at WWDC, because there you always have a pretty good sense of the kind of features that Apple wants you to focus on for a new version of iOS and iPadOS. And plus, you're talking to people, you're talking to developers, you get an idea of what is actually like, what are some of the core themes this year. And as I was putting together my list of potential sections at the time in the Notes app, eventually I went back to Obsidian, of course. I realized, well, there's all these things, right? There's Siri, and there's the autocorrect, which is fantastic. There's all the new stuff in Visual Lookup, and sort of my guiding light for all of this was the Vision Pro. There's a brand new platform and device coming out in a few months which are almost entirely based on intelligence, right? Entirely based on hand recognition, on augmented reality. That's like intelligence turning into the OS itself. And so I figured, well, if I want to review Vision OS in the future, which I think is most likely my future, start reviewing Vision OS 2, or maybe instead of iOS and iPadOS. I don't know what my future holds. I think I want to make it to 10 reviews at least. But I don't know what's coming after that. We'll see. But I know that I want to write about Vision OS, and I know that I want to review Vision OS. And so I figured, well, maybe a good way to start preparing for that as an exercise for me as a writer as well would be to have a chapter all about these features. And also because it's the right thing to do. From the standpoint of our, like, when you consider our jobs, which is we talk about Apple stuff, we talk about a tech company. What is this tech company doing? They are investing heavily into these things. And so for me to not to write about them would be a disservice to people. So it felt like a good thing to do for me personally, but also the right thing to do given the topics that we cover.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I have been thinking about Vision OS as an operating system more and more, because right now, obviously it's not out. And right now it's sort of hard to separate the OS from the hardware in my mind. Now you two use it, I haven't, so I'm from an outsider perspective, but kind of in the way that was true of the iPhone, right? In the beginning, it was iPhone firmware updates, right? It was like a very different thing. But eventually, maybe on day one, but eventually, Vision OS will have its own identity sort of separate from the hardware, especially if there's more than one model in the future. So I think you're right to be thinking about that now and kind of turning that over in your mind before you have to make a decision.
Yeah, exactly. Start exercising now, okay, so how do you write about the keyboard? How do you write about things that get recognized in pictures? Before, these were always treated as features of other apps, like visual lookup. I would write about in the context of the Photos app, and Siri would just be its own little section. Maybe I think at some point it was like this appendix to the shortcuts chapter or something. So this time I wanted to talk about them more broadly from a single perspective, like these are all the intelligence features that Apple works on. At some point in this review, there was a chapter that I cut. There was supposed to be an AirPods and audio chapter. I didn't publish it. In fact, I didn't write anything about AirPods because potentially contrarian opinion incoming, I really, really dislike the new adaptive audio setting of the new AirPods.
Yeah, I'm not sold on it. I've been trying it on and off, and what I don't like about it is I feel like my head is under pressure too much.
Yeah, it's got that,
because
it's slightly muffled, like all the time.
Yes, and so it has a weird feeling where it's like I can still hear things, but I still can feel the noise cancellation. So I'm not sure. I'm trying it. Like I'm not giving up on it yet. Like I keep toggling it on. And the personal volume and conversational awareness I think are actually pretty decent, but not perfect. So I'm trying those out too. But yeah, it is this feels like a thing where it's very 1.0, a lot of these AirPods features, and they need to be tweaked a bit. I said this on Upgrade, Federico, I think you would enjoy this. So I've been using the conversational awareness, right, where you can talk to someone. When I brush my teeth, it pauses my music.
That's incredible.
And I don't know exactly what it is. Like, is it the sound of the electric toothbrush?
The sound is coming from inside the head.
Yes, but that's just such a... What is it? I talk like... That's how I talk to people, like,
yeah.
Maybe there's a weird tone in my voice, but yeah, when I brush my teeth, it keeps pausing my music.
Yeah, so I felt like I don't really like this feature. I felt like I needed more time to test it. These AirPods functionalities, they change and they are tweaked more often in the late cycle of the beta compared to, say, Safari in iOS 17. So I thought, this chapter is not going to be fun to write. It's not going to be good enough for people. We even had images done with Michael Stieber for the chapter.
Which are also good, by the way. I meant to mention this. Those animations and images are just fantastic.
Michael is improving every year, and he does such an incredible job. Also, like listening to my very specific feedback, which I know that I can be a lot to work with, because I'm a bit of a control freak in every single aspect of my life, but especially
you're preaching to the choir right now, you know.
But especially with this review, this thing is my baby, you know, and so I care about it a lot. But thankfully, Michael is very patient and very upfront in terms of when it comes to some things that can be done or cannot be done, which is something it's a quality I appreciate in people. So anyway, yeah, that chapter was not going to be good enough, I thought, and so it was cut from the table of contents. I don't know. I think I think there was this one theme, which is widgets everywhere. iOS is a pretty, minor release, right? There's a bunch of features here and there.
Yeah, I asked Adina to update her phone last night, and this morning she said, "So what's different?" I'm like, I said,
exactly.
You'll see stuff. That was my answer.
Exactly. Like, that's the idea. Like, people will upgrade and they won't notice, and maybe they'll notice like, oh, there's this new thing here, there's a new thing there. So the one thing for me and for the people like us that was worth writing about was the interactive widgets. That's where I spent most of the time, most of the energy testing widgets, talking to developers, trying to have examples in the story to paint a more complete picture. That was the key theme that I also sort of talk about again in the conclusion. And iPadOS was pretty easy in the sense that Apple didn't really do a lot of work on iPadOS this year beyond Stage Manager, which fixes things that we complained about last year. And I hear that more is coming.
I will say, I would like to just stop you there a second. Yes. I understand what you're saying. I wouldn't necessarily say they didn't do a lot of work. Like, it really does feel like they rewrote Stage Manager.
Beyond Stage Manager. Like, beyond Stage Manager, what is in iPadOS 17?
I can't believe,
I can't
believe that contact posters aren't on iPadOS.
Wait, they're not?
No. Why? Like, some stuff I understand. That is just like, why? Like, what? Like, we don't know how to make the images big.
They have a feature for next year.
But it's not even really a feature, is it? I like it, but it's like, it's not like widgets or whatever, where like next year it'll be like, oh, wow, widgets on the iPad.
Yeah, I called somebody yesterday, and I guess they'd already updated to iOS 17. Like, oh, you're the first, like...
It's nice.
They're like, you're the first big picture I've seen.
I like that people can set them. And I like that you can set them for people. Like, I like that you have both of those options to you, because that's like a cool thing. Federico, I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry if I've stopped your train of thought there. If you had another thing you wanted to say, okay. Do you think you will do a review of 17.1?
Oh yeah, I think so. I did it before.
Because it's probably going to be pretty big, right?
I did it before. I'm pretty sure that I did last year. I did 16.2. When Apple brought out external displays for Stage Manager, I did a story. Yeah, it's not unusual for me to do a follow-up with these big releases, and it sounds like it's going to be another big release. There's a bunch of things that were cut from 17. And here's what I was saying, that I hear that more Stage Manager stuff is potentially coming very soon. Not sure if it, that means 17.1, but maybe. Which, by the way, I was sort of expecting today to see a 17.1 beta. Maybe it's going to be next week, though. But yeah, I don't think Apple is done working on Stage Manager. And to your point, yes, I do think that they actually rewrote at least parts of the whole thing, because it looks very similar and it tries to keep a lot of the same guiding principles. But in practice, it feels very different from last year's Stage Manager.
Well, good work, Federico. I look forward to finishing it. I have like 1.5 chapters left to finish the apps chapter, and then the kind of, I don't remember the name, but like everything else.
Everything else goes down smoothly. It's like a fresh glass
of
water. It's like a palate cleanser at the end. See, for the future, something that I want to optimize more in my process, this is something that I was discussing with Sylvia this week and that I'm going to try and do better for next year. This apps chapter is getting out of control.
There's stuff in the apps chapter that I'm surprised is in there. Like, messages in Safari.
And there's apps I couldn't cover in time because I couldn't cover Freeform. There's a bunch of changes there. I couldn't cover Translate, which got completely redesigned in iOS 17. And we'll have to follow up on these things throughout the course of September on Mac Stories. But this is something I want to optimize more for next year. I think I need more help from other writers, from other people, to talk about all the apps that Apple makes. And I think in the review, I just got to cover the essentials. Like, for example, I love, clock. This is just an example, but like, I think I gotta come up with a list of what are the core like apps that have ramifications elsewhere in the system. Obviously, I gotta write about Safari and messages and photos, but like there are things that maybe I can choose not to write about and have them be standalone pieces, outside the context of the review, because otherwise it's just getting out of hand for me at this point. Like covering 20 different apps, it also becomes this slog of a chapter, and it's not fun. And sure, maybe it's useful from an historical perspective, but remember, it's got to be both useful and enjoyable. And I think that chapter has gotten too long as Apple keeps making more apps, because they sure keep making them. And there's Journal coming out soon, so there's going to be one more.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Factor. With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. It can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. We've got some Factor meals delivered to the house, and they have been a big hit with the family. Thing that I enjoy, because I'm not a very sophisticated cook, I'm not a chef, right? Like I can do some simple things. It's super easy to get these going. And at the end of it, you have something really awesome you can share with your family. With Factor, you can skip the extra trip to the grocery store. Their fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. And you have more than 34 flavor-packed options to choose from every week. And if you want something special, level up with Gourmet Plus. These are options prepared to perfection by chefs and ready to eat in record time. So you can treat yourself to upscale meals with premium ingredients like broccolini, leeks, truffle butter, asparagus. Plus, you can keep your energy up with lunch to go. Factor's effortless, wholesome meals like grain bowls and salad toppers, no microwave required. Then to finish your order, choose from 45 add-ons, including breakfast items like apple cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites, and smoothies. You can rest assured that you're making a sustainable choice because Factor offset 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, along with sourcing renewable electricity and featuring sustainably sourced seafood. This September, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. No prep and no mess. Head to factormeals.com/connected50 and use the code connected50 to get 50% off your first box. That's all in the show notes, but the code is connected50 and the URL factormeals.com/connected50, and you'll get half off your first box. Our thanks to Factor for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So one of the milestones that we had for the fundraising of the St. Jude campaign was that we would audit Stephen's Mac. So when Federico was away, I presented my Mac setup to Stephen for an audit. The idea was he would go through and make some suggestions about how to make my Mac better. Now, Federico, I would like to take a different tact with the audit today, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to join me. I would like to point out to Stephen the things that he does that are unnecessary, because I'm sure that there are many of them. Things that he does with his computer that there is no need to do, that they are excessive in some way and or hoarder-like. And I think that it would be really good for us to try and dig some of these out today from Stephen and challenge him as to why he is the way that he is. And so he can really take a long look in the mirror and think about himself. What do you think about that?
I love it.
Let's take him down a peg. So I would like to start. I have 3 So we have in the show notes here the dock, the menu bar, and a photo of Steven's desk. Now, Federico is my partner in crime here. What I would like you to do is take a look at some of these images and maybe try and formulate some questions about like why are you the way that you are. I have 3 to start with. So, Steven, I would like to know how much storage is in your MacBook Pro, please.
8 terabytes.
Do you think that might be a bit too much?
No, because I hover around 4 normally. So being on a 4 terabyte machine would be difficult.
Why do you have 4 terabytes of stuff on your computer?
I have to answer that.
You do. This is the order. This is the point of it. Like, what consists of this 4 terabytes? Where is that being taken up?
Let's see. I mean, it's mostly... Do I have Daisy Disk installed? I do have Daisy Disk installed. Let's see what Daisy Disk says.
Well, let it do its thing. Okay. Other apps are available, like Clean My Mac, which is what I use for this stuff. While we're talking about storage, I noticed in a screenshot, I think it was the menu bar one, that not only do you have your drive on your desktop, you have the amount of storage space used. Why do you need that? Why do you do that?
So I want to feel better about spending so much money on this laptop.
So you just want to be reminded. But isn't it bad though? Like it reminds you that you got 8 terabytes of internal storage on your MacBook Pro?
That's definitely a hangover from the days where I had like a, 40 gigabyte hard drive and a PowerBook or something.
Do you not think about like the price per terabyte added to every computer? Because if you had this all in off-board storage, right? Sure. Then you don't need, because every time you buy a Mac now, it has to have a minimum of 8 terabytes of SSD.
So I used to, when I had the Mac Pro, there were things that were not on the boot drive.
Yeah.
But
that's a good idea.
And with the Mac Studio, I didn't have everything on there because it was a desktop. It was literally screwed into the bottom of my desk.
Yeah.
But now that I'm one laptop only, I don't want to be in a situation where the project I need or something I want to reference is not with me.
That's a good point. There's 4 terabytes of stuff. Now, I'm assuming when this scan completes, the majority of this is your DevonThink database.
A lot of it is.
Yeah.
Although it only says it's 170 gigs, which doesn't seem right. The biggest single directory on this computer is my local copy of everything Relay FM has ever published. That's almost a terabyte.
So this is great. You don't need that on your you do not need that on your computer.
But if
you're like, it has to be with me in case I don't know where you think you are working. That's not in this exact room.
I mean, so that could be elsewhere.
Oh, definitely.
But that's just a terabyte. Like that's not. I mean, that would let me live on a 4 terabyte machine, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Apple.com.
We don't have to talk about how much that option was.
I like this idea of it's just a terabyte. I just want to see like this how much is this just?
It's just $500. It's just $500.
We throw them around.
Okay, so after that, my pictures folder is 634 gigs.
You have more.
$400
Apple stuff than pictures of your 3 kids. Like in terms,
Photos is bigger than my DevonThink database.
Okay,
but the biggest single directory is the Relay FM archives.
But I'm agreeing with Federico here. You were confused about this DevonThink database. You saying like that wasn't right to you because also you have a lot of video.
So the video has been moved off of this machine onto my Plex server in the house.
So you can move things off of a machine.
Those I have.
Why?
That stuff's on YouTube. All of it. Almost all of it.
And the stuff that you have on there is not available anywhere else, like on your own website?
The stuff that I have like in DevonThink in particular is collected from so many different sources. And a lot of it are sources that aren't public.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. Those all live in DevonThink. But the biggest thing is
that's like 100 gigabytes, you said, right?
The database folder is 170 gigs.
What is that? Is there other stuff that it's pulling from?
It's all that.
So that's 170 gigabytes, which could live on a 1 terabyte computer very fine. So like, where's the other?
So the big thing is Relay FM archives.
Yeah, which you don't need on your computer, right? We can agree with that.
And then it's like scattered to the wind. So it's like 500 gigs here, 400 gigs there.
What is 400 gigs there? Like it's still 4. Like what? For what?
That is my folder of Apple software installers.
A folder of Apple.
Look, if I got to boot one of these things, I need the.
I agree. You should have these things, right?
But not on your computer.
There you go.
But if it's on an external drive, it has to be on a second external drive, or it's not backed up properly.
I'm going to get
and
to
then
backup,
I have
don't worry.
a stack of drives on my desk. Now, when I had the Mac Pro, it was all internal, but now the Mac Pro is dumb. So
You have a cabin full of computers. You can keep 2 external drives.
Yes, this is an excellent point. Like, I'm looking at your UPS, right? The uninterruptible power supply. That's massive. That is like the size of a computer.
I bought that for the Mac Pro,
yeah.
and it's still good.
Oh my God, I've just realized how funny
kept
this
it.
is. You have a UPS for a laptop.
Yeah.
It has its own battery inside.
But the Studio Display doesn't, and the external SSDs don't. So
Wait, whoa, hang on. There's external SSDs?
There's
You
a
just said
stack
you
of
didn't
them.
know that.
But they're the backup drives.
Right, so but why are the backup drives okay to live on the desk?
We'll talk about this.
Myke, look under the desk.
Yeah.
For
Okay, I'm looking.
Do you need me to raise it up for you?
No, I can see.
How much stuff is in there?
What do you mean? Like,
how many drives does he have?
under the desk is very clean. There's just the UPS and there's an Eero on
Okay.
top. On top of the desk, which is an odd choice, I think there's like 3 external drives.
2 external drives, the CalDigit, and my audio equipment.
But like, why can't one of those be an 8 terabyte SSD?
That actually in total is 24 terabytes of SSD.
What is going on? Okay, we're just going to be talking about storage for like half an hour.
my God.
What's on those 24 terabytes?
Okay.
Wait, so you have 8 terabyte SSD inside and 24 terabytes of SSD just on the desk?
Yes.
You have a problem.
No. See, this is too much, man. I mean, you are concerned about problems that don't exist.
Let me explain
great
what
way
the
to put
external SSDs are. So there is an 8 terabyte SSD that it is the nightly clone of the laptop. So if the laptop falls in the river, because I am noticeably, to me, like nervous about having one computer, because I've had 2 computers for such a long time. And if the laptop was lost or stolen or, fell in a pool, like my desktop was safe and sound out here. But with just the one computer, I want to make sure it's backed up really thoroughly. So the 8 terabyte volume, which is a single 8 terabyte drive, is a nightly clone. The bigger of the 2 cases is 2 8 terabyte SSDs that are 1 16 terabyte volume, and that's my Time Machine backup. So it's twice as big as the laptop.
I'm sorry, but this is
And it's Time Machine over SSD is very fast. It's sweet.
nothing is gonna have to require all these backups.
If a tree falls through this office, it matters.
No, you have stuff in the cloud. You have Backblaze. You have Dropbox. I can understand having either Time Machine or a nightly clone, but to have everything happening all at
And
once.
to think they are all in the same physical space as each
Well,
other.
there are also drives that aren't here
Oh my God.
that are backed up to about once a month.
Steven, you're not. I love you, but you're not running the MacBook of Joe Biden. You don't have national security stuff on your computer.
You don't know what I have in Devon Think.
It doesn't need to have 6 different backups.
Yeah, I feel like that there is like a timeline of when people did this. And Steven's advanced years over me and Federico means that he has fell
Yes.
onto that timeline.
So I can tell you what happened to me.
Okay.
In college,
You were hit by a ball of lightning.
Tell us about your traumas, Steven.
Did you fall into a radioactive pot of
I did.
SSDs?
I did.
And you became Drive Man.
In college, my PowerBook had water spilled on it, and I lost basically all of my college work.
Okay.
And when I walked through that trial of fire and water, I said,
Sure.
never again will I lose data.
Sure.
This is all a great point. But you have gone to a length which is unnecessary.
But it lets me sleep at night. And to be clear, this actually doesn't help my case. I was going to say those SSDs were in the Mac Pro. So it's not like I bought them just for backup, but I bought them for backup when they were inside the Mac
Yeah.
Pro. So
But like
they've been upcycled.
the 8 terabytes of SSD inside of your laptop, we can all agree is too much, right? Will you agree with this that it is too much?
I could get away with 4
Yes,
if I
because you're half
trimmed
using
down.
this right now. You're not going to use this machine for more than another 2 years. Like, you're just not. You will upgrade it because that's who we all are. You especially, right? You love new Macs.
Yeah.
It's too much, man. It's too much. Like, you've got like 5 different backups,
Backblaze, Time Machine, Clone.
and then
And
the
the STEM stuff is synced to Dropbox and other places.
no, but then also these like ones that you won't talk about that are put in a safe somewhere or whatever. Yeah. So how many more are there?
That's like a stack of spinning drives just to like cover all my. That is a real situation. that needs more work.
Federico, I wish you were in this room with me right now because
hate it.
this man is his brain is spinning as he's trying to explain this. It's so good.
You have taken this. I'm very concerned because I knew you had a lot of storage and like thoughts about backups, but you have reached this sort of doomsday scenario point where you're like those people who worry about the apocalypse and they start stacking up like canned food and stuff in case like an atomic event happens and they need to live underground for 20 years. Nothing is going to happen to your computer. You are never going to use this computer for more than 2 years because you're always going to get the new one. You don't need to spend all this money.
Your life would be easier if most of this stuff was on external drives, because every time you buy a new computer, it takes like 100 days to transfer the data from one to the other.
The transfer did take a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, really, in reflecting on this, I just really missed the Mac Pro because it was sweet that all of it was just in the machine.
Let me tell
But
you
the
about,
new Mac Pro
let me tell you about
doesn't
this
make
thing.
any sense.
But then why do you... What? But okay, so we come back to a thing that I brought up a long time ago. Why did you switch from the Mac Studio to the MacBook Pro?
That's what I wanted to mention. I don't understand why don't you have a Mac Studio?
It will never make sense to me. I felt like there was never a reason at the time.
It was
and I still don't understand. I don't understand why
and
you
it
did
was
it.
never fully explained
Really,
to us.
the reason was that I wanted to have the experience that most people who use a Mac in a professional environment do, which is a laptop and an external display. And I hadn't done that since like 2013 or 14. And so I thought it was time to, with the M2, I thought it was time to experiment with that again. Honestly, other than sort of the mess of cables that you have to have and like the really overpriced CalDigit TS4 that's sitting over there, I feel like the experiment's been really successful. Like, I like having everything on one machine. I like that when I take it somewhere, everything is with me. Like when I went to Apple last week or this week, we're at St. Jude every day. But it does come with the nervousness of, oh boy, my whole life and job is all just in one place. So that's why the backups are there. So if I have to like recover from something, I can do it pretty quickly.
I think you should go back to the Mac Studio. I think this
Maybe.
is a noble like
I may.
idea, but like
I want to see what the M3 generation brings and make a decision.
I feel like your role as Mac Power user,
Yes.
I understand why you would be like, all right, I want to have a MacBook Pro and a display like the majority of the listeners. But like, do you really feel like you learned anything from this experience, like specifically?
You wanted to be a people person. You tried. It was a honest effort.
The idea of being the everyman with the 8 terabyte SSD inside of a MacBook
that
Pro.
does break down. That does break down my argument. I will give you that.
Yeah, you're like the meme of like with the dog being like, they don't know yet that I'm a dog, and there's like sheep around the dog. It's like I get it as a thing you wanted to try, but you should just embrace your true self.
And I think my true self probably is like a desktop and then a MacBook Air.
Yeah.
And
That's what I do. Although I use a MacBook as a desktop, but I will one day buy the Mac Studio.
Yeah, we talked about that. But like, you have your 13-inch Air here. I was like, that's such a perfect laptop.
It's the perfect laptop. That laptop you have, it's a 14-inch, right?
14,
It's
yeah.
too big. When this thing is so perfect, and for all of the work that we do, no problem.
So we'll see where I end up. But that's the storage. The next thing in the outline says laptop on a stand.
Yeah, this is madness. Laptop on a stand. I don't understand it. Like, this is the thing that I don't like, right? Which is why I don't get it, which is using the laptop screen as a second display. It doesn't work for me. Like, the size disparity between the two displays is massive. So like, I always felt like if I did this, I would drag an app from one window to the next, and it would just be a nightmare because it was always the wrong size completely.
Well, you need a good window management tool.
Yeah,
I would suggest that episode of MPU to you.
Because David gave me a private thing once, and we went through Moom together, and
Yeah.
but it's still like, that's too much of an aggravation for me of like moving the things around, and I do think it is just, it looks weird on a desk.
It
to
takes
me.
some getting used to. For me, so I'm sitting in front of a studio display. and the laptop is status. So on the left side is timery, and the right side is reminders or whatever my to-do manager is. And it's just like I can look over there and kind of get a status of my day and then move on. And even with the Pro Display XDR, which I had before, I didn't really have a place like I want to look over here and see what's going on. Now, I tried 2 studio displays and it was just too much. It was too much for that desk in this office. It was too much. And so that's living at my brother's now. But if I do go back to a desktop at some point with a studio display, I'll probably use an iPad or something as a sort of a status board, because I do find that to be useful the way that I work. But yeah, I'm not like writing email over there and then coming back to the main display. Like the work is all happening on the studio display.
This isn't something that I think needs to change. I just wanted to, that's just like a thing. I don't like it, and I just wondered how you felt about it.
Yeah, it's not great. Now, I don't care about, actually I have promotion off on the MacBook Pro. The color stuff doesn't mean anything to me. Like I don't need it. And so I think some people would be bothered by, the laptop screen's way better than the studio display. But in the ways that it's better don't make a big impact in my life. So I'm okay with that. You know, it's better paired with a Pro Display XDR, but even then you don't have ProMotion. So maybe at some point Apple will have an external display that matches the quality and the specs of the MacBook Pro, but it ain't there yet.
Federico, did you have any additional questions for Stephen?
I have questions about apps. The software,
Yes. Okay.
software. I'm not fully sold on your choices. For starters, Overcast on the Mac.
Only for checking that things publish, okay?
You have your phone.
Yeah, but it's like on the dock, you know. I can just open Overcast
come on!
on the Mac
What?
and see
It's
it.
like 30 centimeters away from you.
Yeah, it's a long way away.
I'm sorry, Federico. I have Overcast on my Mac too for this exact same reason. I know. I understand. I 100% understand what you're saying, but I do it too.
So the other thing I want to understand is why Mars Edit, both in the dock and the menu bar? And follow-up question, why don't you just blog from Safari or from...
I really like Mars Edit, and I don't like writing in the browser. That's probably the time I came up, you know? Like,
I would like to introduce you to our CMS.
yeah, but it's not for blogging currently.
So don't you have, like, that's your text editor? You don't have a text editor like Obsidian or IA Writer, like... You use Mars Edit
for longer things. I'll use IA Writer, but most of the stuff I write is not your iOS 17 review, and so I will just write in Mars Edit, save it locally, and then publish it when I'm ready. As far as it being both places, I realized that in the screenshot, I don't actually ever use it from the menu bar, so I need to turn that off. But I wanted my screenshot to be kind of as it was at the time.
Also in the menu bar, you have some icons I don't understand. What's the first blue one from the left?
Let me pull up the screenshot because it may be different now.
Dymo?
So that is the software for my label printer. And the only reason that's installed right now is because I've started some preliminary stuff on the calendar fulfillment. And yeah, it just runs up there. It's terrible and ugly.
Also in the secondary menu bar, what's the Q icon?
That's Quitter that Marco wrote that'll hide or quit apps after a given amount of time.
And what about the one on the left that looks like a letter C?
Carbon copy cloner. So that's what I'm using to back up each night.
And lastly, good links in your dock.
Yeah.
That's your Read Later app, or is it something else?
It's my Read Later app.
Okay. So you also have it on your phone, iPad.
Yep, everywhere. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have... I understand the thing about Overcast. Devon think is there. The calendar icon, that's Fantastical, right?
No, it's Apple Calendar.
It's Apple Calendar? Are you using Apple Calendar or instead of Fantastical?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Care to explain why?
I just don't need a lot of the extra stuff Fantastical offers. And so there are a couple of things
I'm in the same boat, but I thought you were using Fantastical.
I did for a long time, and I think at some point in the last couple of years, I was like, let me try Apple Calendar again, and it was enough.
So you're both using Apple Calendar?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Also, because now on iOS 17, you can just create a calendar events from Spotlight, and it's...
Oh, that's cool.
That's...
Maybe at this point, I couldn't tell you why I'm using Fantastical, but I just am.
The iPhone app in particular is really nice.
It's very nice.
Well, when it remembers what day you're on.
Oh,
It does that a lot.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it for me. Ivory makes sense. Apple Notes.
Yep.
What do you put in Apple Notes that doesn't go
Everything.
Well, everything that doesn't go into DevonThink, doesn't go into Day One, doesn't go into Mars Edit, doesn't go into Good Links.
Okay.
What is everything?
So Notes is my like personal database. So I'm looking through it, right? There's personal stuff like my list of medications or upcoming trips. DevonThink is tech history solely. So some things start life in Good Links, and I say, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to save this to DevonThink. And then, Day one is all feelings and dream, mostly my dream journal. And so, yeah, I feel like I don't have as much overlap as I used to. I used to really struggle with that. Like, what's a note? What's a file? And that's sort of settled down for me. I have currently 438 notes in Apple Notes, by the way.
How many?
438.
Okay. Well, that's it from me.
I think that's fair. I mostly just wanted to talk about your storage, which I feel like I've done effectively.
I think we'll look back on this episode knowing Steven as a very expensive one.
Yeah, I've been exposed.
I could feel from the audio the moment when you realized.
The embarrassment is strong.
But like the moment you realize that you really should go back to a desktop computer.
Oh, yeah, that too.
You could feel the money leaving your wallet from this episode.
Honestly, like if it weren't for the Mac Studio aside, which I sold for this experiment, and I sold a MacBook Air too. I basically I covered the cost of this MacBook Pro by selling those machines. But I loved the Mac Pro, but the values of the Intel one were sinking so fast, I couldn't keep it. Like I was burning money each month that it stayed around. And it's just a shame the new one isn't that interesting.
Well, there's another computer out there for you, which is good.
The Mac Studio is a great fit. So,
okay, and Discord has made a good point. The screensaver that you're using in the images here and your desktop wallpaper, these will all be part of the package that are available to people who donate $60 or more to the St. Jude campaign at stjude.org/relay.
That's right.
Courtesy of James Thompson and Jelly.
I think that does it for this week. If you want to find links to the stuff we spoke about, and look, y'all, if y'all have not read Federico's review, call in sick tomorrow to work, and
you don't deserve this podcast.
Yeah.
If you haven't read Federico's review or listened to it, you could fire up that thing in Safari and just listen to it.
Today, Myke discovered that Safari can read to you, but then he didn't know how to turn it off. What did you end up doing?
I force quit Safari, that didn't do it, and then I found the play. It was just in the play controls. So Federico, I started playing it and closed the article, and it still kept going,
kept reading.
Which wasn't what I was expecting to happen.
Yeah. It becomes like a source of it goes into now playing like music.
I also found out today that there are regional British accents for Siri, and I've changed my Siri voice to a northern British accent. The British accents now are so good in Siri. Like I really struggled to choose the one that I ended up going with. So where are we? Siri. This was the one I had.
I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Which is just very that's like an adaptation of how Siri has always sounded. And then I heard this one, which I really loved.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Which is a very London-based accent. And then this is the one I ended up going with.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Because I like that she says it like Siri.
Oh, that's fun.
I'm Siri. I like that. That's fun for me.
Siri.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
It's really good.
That's fun.
So
That's
it
fun.
didn't initially read to me as a Northern English accent, but then when I started having it read your review to me, it was clearer. Maybe I could do that too, so people can get the full experience and go to Mac Stories.
And iPadOS 17. The Mac Stories Review. By Federico Vitixisep 18, 2023, 10 o'clock CDT. In the year when the vision is elsewhere, what do you get the OS that has everything? Well, last year was weird. For the first time since I started writing annual reviews of Apple's 2 mobile operating systems.
There you go. So that to me reads as a Northern English accent, and I love it. And now I'm very happy to have this as my Siri voice.
So links are in your podcast player, and they're on the web at relay.fm/connected/468. There you can join and get Connected Pro, which is a longer ad-free version of the show each and every week. You can find all of us online. You can find Myke on a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM and his work over at Cortex Brand. He's iMyke on Threads.
Will you permit me one
and iMyke
promotional
at
moment?
Myke.social on Mastodon.
The Subtlety and Sweater is back at cortexbrand.com, and we've added a lightweight hoodie. It's available until October 10th, cortexbrand.com. Can I just say for a second, you promoted the Kickstarter for like a month in a row.
To be fair, he has a point. In fact, I haven't promoted anything because I don't have any physical products. That's fair.
So I feel like I could get one.
Maybe I should turn it into a physical.
I would
book.
very much like that.
No,
When did you finish writing and editing it?
the night before.
That's a real fast turnaround for a
Yeah,
printed
but you
book.
could do it as like people could buy it, and then you could just like ship it to them when it's done. You know?
I should do like a collection of leather-bound reviews, but you cannot do leather anymore. So I should do a collection of fine woven bound reviews.
Fine woven. The Encyclopedia Federico, you know? I would love it. I would genuinely enjoy physical iOS review books. I think that would be fun.
You can find the non-physical version of it at macstories.net. There's a lot of great coverage. Of course, I think we'll be talking about Sonoma next week, so keep an eye out for John's review. We'll be talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Poor
Sonoma's
John.
next week.
I feel bad for John.
And we did not talk about tvOS. So there's a tvOS
I
review
know,
coming.
right? Someone's going to have to do that.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, man. I have yet to install tvOS 17 on a device. Yesterday, when on upgrade, Jason was like, "Oh, and there's continuity cameras." Oh,
Yeah, he
forgot
called
about
me.
that.
He was on his couch. It was great.
I have a lot of work to do. I am going to do it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. I will do it.
Maybe
but
we'll
I
give you a
don't-
couple weeks.
Yeah, I
'cause
don't know
you
when it's
gotta
going to
fly
happen.
home next week.
Yeah.
You can find Federico on Mastodon at Vitici at macstories.net. You can find my writing over at 512pixels.net, and I host Mac Power Users here on Relay FM each and every Sunday. You can find me on Threads as ISMH86, and I'm ISMH at eworld.social on Mastodon. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Indeed, Electric, and Factor. Until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.